Hello friends, welcome to AI Flux. So if you live in Austin or SF, you've maybe seen some of the Cruise self-driving clown cars that generally work and show us how cool self-driving is, but also cause tons of traffic. I've almost been in accidents because of them myself. And there's been some news today that is big news, but not necessarily in a good way for General Motors and all of their Cruise vehicles. So basically this stems from an incident about a month ago which involved someone being hit by a car and then shortly thereafter struck by a Cruise vehicle. So they technically weren't hit by the vehicle outright, but the vehicle nearly killed someone. And to say that these haven't been causing issues, traffic or otherwise in these cities, is just not factual. Driving around in Austin, I've almost been in accidents when they're going too slow. There have been instances where I've seen multiple Cruise vehicles at the same intersection where they just lock up entirely. And the police in Austin have actually started complaining that these vehicles completely ignore them when they're blocking off traffic for events or for accidents or other serious things. And I think these vehicles are pretty cool. I've ridden in them. I've ridden in Waymos as well. But I think the rollout maybe has gone a little too far. And California just decided that was kind of the case. And this comes in the light of other events years ago, like the time when a Uber self-driving vehicle actually struck and killed someone in Arizona. Although it was determined that there really wouldn't have been a way even for a human to avert this, I think the issues that these smaller cars cause in cities are much more serious. So today, basically, the California Department of Motor Vehicles said that it has permanently suspended Cruise's deployment and driverless testing permits, basically ending the GM self-driving car robotaxi operations in San Francisco, just months after receiving the last necessary permit to commercialize its operation, so basically to charge for the rides. The California DMV said public safety remains the California DMV's top priority, and the department's autonomous vehicle regulations provide a framework to facilitate the safe testing and deployment of this technology on California public roads. The DMV said in a statement, when there is unreasonable risk to public safety, the DMV can immediately suspend or revoke permits. There is no set time for a suspension. So we don't know if it's permanent, but at this point we know it's basically indefinite. The DMV, which actually regulates the autonomous vehicle testing that goes on in California, said that Cruise must meet a number of steps to reinstate its suspended permits. Now, they made these much more difficult than the process of actually getting them. They just say the agency will not approve any until the company has fulfilled the new requirements. Basically, the DMV said that after some investigation, they realized that these vehicles were not actually safe for operation in the public, and that Cruise actually misrepresented information related to the autonomous vehicle technology in its vehicles. And at some point here, they basically said that these vehicles started presenting a unreasonable risk to the public. And actually, I would agree. And Cruise responded, so they responded at about 10:30 a.m. today. After the agency became aware of the DMV's suspension, their spokesperson, Hannah Lidlow, made this statement that was then published on X, basically saying, as a result, we will be pausing operations of our driverless AVs in San Francisco. Ultimately, we develop and deploy autonomous vehicles in an effort to save lives. In the incident being reviewed by the DMV, a human hit-and-run driver tragically struck and propelled the pedestrian into the path of the autonomous vehicle. The autonomous vehicle braked aggressively before impact, and because it detected a collision, it attempted to pull over to avoid further safety issues. When the AV tried to pull over, it continued before coming to a final stop, pulling the pedestrian forward. Now, I'm going to add some important context here. The pedestrian was under the car the entire time this happened. And I'm not going to show you a video of it, but there was actually a video of this happening. Our thoughts continue to be with the victim as we hope for a rapid and complete recovery. Shortly after the incident, our team proactively shared information with the California DMV. It's important to note here that there was also basically a 48-hour delay of this information, which was not helpful because the issue is there still are not clear ways for police to actually disable and turn off these cars. There have been times where they actually have to find ways in Austin to just get them to stop moving and driving into restricted areas. Shortly after the incident, we have stayed in close contact with regulators to answer their questions and assisted the police with identifying the vehicle of the hit-and-run driver. Our teams are currently doing an analysis to identify potential enhancements, basically so that they don't hit more people. So the irony of this situation is that a lot of the early ads that Cruise made with their new robotaxi was with how beneficial they were to actually be used by people who were disabled. So as opposed to taking public transit, they could take a specialized vehicle meant to carry handicapped people that was autonomous. And the irony is that as opposed to making transport more beneficial for disabled people, they proved that their autonomous vehicles have actually just been good at nearly disabling people in the meantime. And to be clear, like, I love Waymo. When I lived in the Bay Area, I used them daily, and I think this technology is great. However, I think Cruise has maybe gone a little bit too far. And in terms of their competition with other companies like Waymo, this is kind of curious because this suspension comes less than 3 months after their competitor Waymo received their final permit to offer commercial robotaxi services around San Francisco 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, which was actually a much more permissive permit than what Cruise had. And to be clear, this ban only affects Cruise. It doesn't actually affect Waymo. And these incidents did not come without sort of like incremental efforts made by the DMV. They actually initially told Cruise after this accident that they had to reduce their robotaxi fleet by 50%. And Cruise has tried to sort of get around this by saying that, generally speaking, the actual permit that makes it possible to do this is issued by the California Public Utilities Commission, which regulates commercial driverless ride-hailing permits. However, this permit is useless without the DMV permits that are also needed. And what's curious is they actually had a string of incidents that occurred within days of receiving the CPUC permit. And this also included a collision between a Cruise robotaxi and an emergency vehicle that left one of the passengers injured. So Cruise has tried to sort of do damage control and say, oh, this is such a random thing, but these incidents have not been random. And since I've spent a little bit of time in Austin, I've also found that the local media here and people just who drive here have said that if you're downtown at all, these vehicles definitely cause issues. So let me know what you guys think. I think California making this move is pretty unprecedented because they've been by far the most liberal with allowing these vehicles on their roads. I think it's important to keep training these vehicles and improving this technology. For instance, I've used Waymo quite a bit, and it's pretty interesting to be riding in one of these vehicles. I think before you comment, yeah, we should ban all these, definitely ride in one of them. It's a pretty uncanny experience. And although I think, we should still have plenty of jobs, people who drive vehicles and do deliveries, automation like this is important because it's how we kind of get to the next step of our society and how we live in developed societies. So let me know what you think in the comments below. I think this is really, really interesting in terms of the developments here. If you really like our content, please like, subscribe, and share. And as always, we hope you learned something, and we'll see you in the next video.